So, what really happens when you decide to take on your homeowners association? And I don't mean just firing off a strongly worded email, I mean taking them to a formal legal hearing. We're going to dive deep into that question with a real life case: Jeremy Whittaker versus the Val Vista Community Association. It's a fascinating story about one single rule, one clear violation, and one homeowner who decided to see it all the way through to a judge. You know, every good legal drama kicks off with one single point of conflict. And in this case, it wasn't your typical HOA spat about overgrown lawns or the wrong shade of beige paint. Nope. This whole thing started with a very specific rule, written right there in the community's own governing documents. Now, what you're looking at here, this isn't some super complicated legal jargon. It's actually a really clear, simple rule. And its purpose is pretty straightforward. Make sure everything is transparent and avoid any potential conflicts of interest on the HOA board. It's all about making sure everybody knows who's related to who, especially when you're talking about the people in charge. And boom, this is where the whole thing kicks off. The HOA just didn't follow its own rule. The application form they handed out for the 2023 board election was missing the spot for these disclosures. And this turned out to be a huge deal because two of the candidates, Diana Ebertshauser and Brody Hadertoe, had undisclosed family ties to the very same law firm that the HOA had hired to count the election votes. See the problem? Okay, so before anyone even thought about stepping into a hearing room, this fascinating legal chess match started to play out. You see it happen through a series of motions and court orders. Both the homeowner and the HOA were trying to set up the battlefield in their favor, and we can see exactly how it went down in the official court documents. So let's walk through this move by move. On April 24th, the HOA tries to get the whole hearing canceled. The judge denied. That same day, the homeowner tries to combine this case with another one. Judge says nope to that too. Denied. Then, on May 13th, the homeowner wants to bring in 8 different witnesses to testify, and the judge completely quashes that request. With every single step, you can literally see the judge narrowing the scope, tightening the focus of this case down to one thing. Okay, so here's the kicker. The HOA had already admitted it was wrong. Their whole argument was basically, hey, we messed up. We admit it. So, can we just cancel this whole hearing? There's nothing to talk about. But the judge completely disagreed. As you can see in the order, she was determined to hold the hearing for one specific reason: to figure out if the HOA's mistake was bad enough to deserve a civil penalty, which is basically a fine. All right, time for a little legal decoder moment here. When a judge quashes something, it's a fancy legal way of saying it's canceled, it's voided, it's off the table. In this case, the judge quashed the request for 8 witnesses because, well, the HOA had already confessed. From her perspective, what's the point of hearing from 8 different people when the only question left is whether the HOA should be fined for a mistake they already admitted to making? And all of that brings us to the main event: the administrative hearing on May 16th, 2025. After all the back and forth, all the motions and rulings, this was it. This was the moment where the core issue was finally going to be addressed face-to-face with a judge. Right from the get-go, the moment this hearing started, the administrative law judge made one thing crystal clear. This wasn't going to be some wide-ranging debate where everybody aired all their grievances. No, there was only one single issue up for discussion. This quote right here, this is pretty much the whole case in a nutshell. The judge lays it out perfectly. This isn't a trial to figure out who's guilty. The HOA already admitted they messed up. She says the sole reason they are all there is to decide what happens next, what the consequences should be for that one single confessed violation. So the judge kept bringing up this one legal word, jurisdiction, and she used it to keep the hearing laser focused. Whenever the homeowner tried to bring up other issues, she gently but firmly explained that her jurisdiction, her official power, was limited only to the specific violation in the original petition. She literally couldn't rule on anything else. Her hands were tied to that one single issue. So after that very focused hearing, the final decision came down on June 5th, 2025. And this document, well, this is the moment of truth. It reveals the ultimate outcome of this entire fight. So who actually won? All right, let's break this down piece by piece. First question: did the HOA violate the bylaw? The judge's answer? A clear and simple yes. But then, was a civil penalty, a fine, imposed? No. The judge decided a fine wasn't needed. But, and this is a huge but, the judge ordered the HOA to pay the homeowner back his $500 filing fee. And most importantly, she officially named the petitioner Jeremy Whittaker as the prevailing party. He was, on paper, legally, the winner. So let's think about this. The homeowner is officially the winner, but the HOA doesn't have to pay a big fine. It kind of makes you wonder, right? What does winning even look like in a situation like this, when you're a homeowner taking on your HOA? When you boil it all down, this win wasn't about the money. It was about the principle of the thing. The homeowner was officially proven right. The HOA was formally put on notice and ordered to follow its own rules from now on. And he got his $500 back for the trouble of filing the case. The win here wasn't a big financial punishment. It was about holding the association accountable and forcing them to comply with the rules they wrote themselves. And that's really the question this whole story leaves us with, isn't it? For any homeowner out there fighting for transparency and for the rules to be followed, when you're proven right, what does that victory really look like? Maybe it looks exactly like this.